out, how ay 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 ay. How we out, how we out, ay 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 ay. Ay 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 ay. How ay 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 ay. How ay 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 ay.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host Kira Young and you've reached me on Revolution Radio. We are simulcasting today with Real Liberty Media and it's the 26th of November 2016, 4 p.m. Eastern, a little after. So we have another NODAPL show coming up. We're going to get some eyewitness accounts of especially Sunday's events, which were extremely violent. You'll notice that the mainstream media has been calling them violent clashes with protesters. That kind of makes it sound like the violence is coming from both sides, but as we both know, the violence is coming from one side, and that's from the police. They've done quite a job in lying this week. This week of lies from Morton County Sheriff's Department. It's pretty extensive. They blamed the young lady, Sophia Walensky, who got her arm blown out by them with a concussion grenade. They said she was playing with explosives. Nothing could be further from the truth there. I don't think they responded to the multiple people who were on the ground with their head bleeding, unconscious, or the elder who went into cardiac arrest. But if they did, I'm sure that the response was a lie, because that's what they do, which is why we all laughed when we found out that their Facebook page, Morton County Sheriff's Department Facebook page, was hacked by Anonymous, and they sent a message saying that they're going to take everything they got down if they don't stop. But as we know, if you haven't heard yet, the Army Corps of Engineers has issued an eviction notice for a Shetty-Shikowan camp. That's the big camp, and the one that is right outside the bounds of the reservation on unceded treaty territory. But that land has been taken over by the Army Corps of Engineers. And the reason they cite for the eviction is for safety. They don't want anyone getting hurt. And there's no access by emergency personnel. Well, folks, why is there no access? Because the cops closed the road down, Highway 1806 North. So if they open that back up again, guess what? There'd be access. And as Chairman Dave Archambault of the Standing Rock Sioux tribe has said in response to their eviction notice, if you are concerned about the safety of our water protectors, then don't grant the easement. Then there won't be any clashes between them, basically, is what he said. Also, the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe chair has also made an official public statement in support of water protectors, because many of his tribe are there protecting the water. So we've got Oompa Noompa and we've got Zephyr coming on, and they may have brought people with them. They were there on Sunday, so there's a lot to talk about. What they're going to do during the eviction, and what's next. So let's see if we can't get in touch with them.
Your call has been forwarded to an automatic voice message.
That would be a no. So I will just wait until I get some sort of a message from them when they're available. So I just tried to call you. They're probably getting to a location where they can get a signal. So that is okay. All right, so what I'm going to do in the meantime, while I'm waiting for them to show up, is I'm going to get into the weeds with regard to this eviction that I'm talking about here with the Army Corps of Engineers. So let me get to it, and then we can get in the weeds. I personally think that they are issuing this eviction now because of the veterans that are coming. That's going to make people's heads explode. You know, if the people see veterans being treated in the way that natives are being treated, they're going to lose their minds. And you know, it's unfortunate that it takes seeing veterans to really make it click in the average American mind that these are people deserving of respect. These are brave people. When I was there, I've never met so many brave, dedicated people in my life who have got their heads on straight. You know, if your response is to comply with the bullshit that's going on right now, then I worry about your mental state. If your response is non-compliance, then I know you got your head screwed on straight, because this is crazy. So, according to the Morton County Sheriff's Office, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers wants all people camping on the property north of Cannonball River to leave by December 15th. The Corps of Engineers sent a letter to Standing Rock Sioux Tribal Chairman Dave Archambault on November 25th, saying the decision to protect the general public from violent confrontations between protesters and law enforcement in that area. He also says the decision was made to protect inhabitants from the camps from the harsh North Dakota winter, and that medical emergency vehicles can't be provided. Why? Because the cops built a wall in the middle of 1806. So the trucks can't get in. They can only come up from the south. So any of you veterans thinking about maybe upping the timeline here? The timeline was originally the 4th through the 7th. There would be veterans there, but I have a feeling that the veterans are already starting to show up because of this eviction notice. And this is a very large camp. There was at least 700 people there, but the camp has swelled since I left, especially after Sunday. People really want to come and help out. That kind of violence was, the water cannons in 20-degree weather. Pretty heartless shit. Pretty heartless. Dave Archambault says the tribe is deeply disappointed in this decision by the United States, but our resolve to protect our water is stronger than ever. The best way to protect people during the winter and reduce the risk of conflict between water protectors and militarized police is to deny the easement. Deny it now. What we ask is that everyone who can appeal to President Obama and the Army Corps of Engineers do so. Consider the future of our people and rescind all permits and deny the easement to cross the Missouri River just north of the reservation and straight through our treaty lands, which, as I stated before, are unceded treaty lands. We have, when the Dakota Access Pipeline chose this route, they did not consider our strong opposition. Our concerns were clearly articulated directly to them in a tribal council meeting held on September 30th, 2014, where NODAPL and the North Dakota Public Service Commission came to us with this route. We have released the audio recording of that meeting. So, for all you jackasses in the alt-right who have been saying that the tribe just had a real nonchalant attitude about it, and then suddenly, out of the blue, we're against it. It's not true. They were against it from the beginning, and they made that very clear from the very beginning. So, it is both unfortunate and disrespectful. This is from Dave Archambault, excuse me, that this announcement comes the day after this country celebrates Thanksgiving, a historic exchange of goodwill between Native Americans and the first immigrants from Europe. Although the news is saddening, it's not surprising given the last 500 years of the mistreatment of our people. The Standing Rock Sioux tribe stands united with more than 300 tribal nations and the water protectors who are here peacefully protesting the Dakota Access Pipeline to bolster Indigenous people's rights. We continue to fight for these rights, which continue to be eroded. Although we have suffered much, we still have hope that the President will act on his commitment to close the chapter of broken promises to our people and especially to our children. Here's what I wonder. Okay. Oh, good. They're at the casino. Okay. Here's what I wonder and what we should probably look into is that the tribal chairman has the right to declare emergency and to ask for federal assistance directly from the president. So, there may be a way for him to do that, and I am going to research that because I think that may be a way out or a way to keep people from getting really hurt or killed. Let's try and get Zeph in here again.
Hello.
Hey. Oh my goodness, I'm glad you're there. I was just reciting the letters that went around the eviction. Welcome, Zephyr.
Hi, thank you for having us again.
So much has happened.
And again and again. You know, it seems like a lifetime passes in between our chats.
I know, but it's only a week. It's like...
And it's only a week. It's only a week. And an hour sometimes feels like forever around here.
Yeah, it's true.
I have very recently pieced together a little bit of responses. I hope your listeners got to hear you read off the responses from the various members of our camp. And so, do you want to talk about Sunday? What shall we talk about?
Yes. I want to hear. I want to hear all about it. We saw what we saw, and we've been horrified, and just can't believe it. But at the same time, we can.
You know, this is continued building. If your listeners have been tuning in most weeks, you know the litany of human rights violations coming out of the actions against NODAPL protectors, water protectors, has increased, and it's continued to increase. And you know, we keep saying amongst camp on some of us, you know, it feels like it's getting worse, and it just feels like, you know, there's no end to it. And we saw on Sunday that they really are very willing and able to kill us. And it was apparent in the use of water cannons. When we arrived, so the family had to take a little step away. We were having some, you know, some creeks and some eggs being out here in the cold, and it started staying real cold out here. So we thought we'd get cleaned up in Bismarck, and came back, got supplies, and came back, and it was already going. So to this day, I'm still unclear exactly when everything started, but I know when we arrived at 8:30, it was full in force. We had water protectors to the front, the spray, the water cannons were already being deployed. A lot of people were not prepared for what they were dishing out. They did deploy one LRAD volley at the protesters, which actually affected me personally a lot more this time at what they said was a lower level than in the past when it's been on higher levels. And I'm not sure if that was just my spacing to the device or the depth of protectors in between me and the device, but a lot of us definitely were feeling it. Multiple tear gas canisters, as your listeners probably saw in the live feeds, were deployed. One of the most dangerous things I witnessed, given my precarious statement, I went to go and lay some prayers, and we went initially as volleys of tear gas are going off, and the police are on the loudspeaker, and the folks are, holding the line, and every time they're getting blasted with freezing water, they're chanting Maniwachoni and water is life, which is a beautiful response to the weaponization of our sacred water against our water defenders. But early on, two of our party took a pretty direct hit of the tear gas, so we had to go back to camp and get those clothing off and washed down, cleaned up. We prayed up, had a quick ceremony, and then went back up as a family, and some went to the front lines, some opted to hold camp because we had somebody later on that needed a warm fire. We didn't know it, but needed a warm fire because they got sprayed and their hair started freezing. So it was good to have people at camp that were willing to keep, hot tea and coffee going, and the fires geared up. So if people needed some place warm and dry, we were ready. And we went back out there. I did medical transport from my car's medical transport. Because it was one of the ways I thought, I could be of service and still not completely bust bones
right.
that I'm still under. And it was very intense. The amount of people getting harmed, the amount of just walking in each time, the amount of people that had gotten tear gas, the amount of people that were in various states and levels of hypothermia, the instant body's response to the tear gas, for some it instantly hurts, for others in the camp it took a couple of days, but it was some residual, really noxious bodily effects of breathing in that toxin that's now used to kind of off-gas. So it's not just the initial hit, it's the fact that it's an oily base that clings to whatever and keeps giving off the substance. So, but it was beautiful to see the response of our people. They held in prayer, they held in a fierce determination that even in the face of being harmed, they were not going to relent. We were just trying to pray and reclaim some space that they have taken from us, and these are all still treaty lands. And, just to be heard, because they're trying to box us in and say, okay, you can peacefully protest, but here in this corner where nobody can see you and you can't be heard. And for many of us who are indigenous, we're tired of the marginalization, we're tired of the mentalization, we're tired of our righteous indignation being told it's not good enough to be expressed. And so they stood those lines, and the organization, there was queues of cars to get folks injured out and immediately to the medics. The medics were absolutely overwhelmed by the sheer number of, trauma cases and injuries and illness that was coming at them, but they were amazing and stood strong together, and so many people went long days and long good nights this week to make sure that our people were taken care of and triaged properly, and those that could be treated were treated and cared for, and those that were more severe got the, absolute promptest attention. So just hands lifted to all the medics, the healers, the midwives, the medicine holders, anybody who was out there that night, all ready to transport folks, people queuing to stop and get us where we need to be, for maintaining safety and holding perimeter, and definitely for the frontliners who were standing there for upwards of 2.5 hours that I witnessed, seeing folks in freezing cold dropping temperatures, below freezing dropping temperatures, holding that line. And it was powerful, and it was poignant, and it was horrifying, and it was trauma-inducing, and, many of us are having to do a little bit extra self-care once again, another week, that another major trauma of seeing, our people, our friends, our family, our campmates getting harmed, getting ill from the after effects, holding that fatigue, in our own self, holding our own experiences. It's been a lot. It's been a whole lot.
What does the tear gas do? It just makes you physically ill? Or
So some folks, when the first canister went off around us, some folks instantly vomited, kind of got on the ground, started coughing violently, gasping, couldn't catch breath. For some folks, it was instantly eyes and nose running. For me, I don't know. I've been around this before. This is not my first time. I was just like, oh, somebody left the peppers on the stove a little too long. But then hours later, I got a very massive headache that just would not go away, no matter, what I threw at it to try to relieve it. That was when I just felt really, really drained, really, really kind of sick to my stomach for about 2 days after.
Mm.
Some folks were getting hit. A relative that comes by our camp, a Sikh relative, came and, told us the story of how he was there trying to help the frontliners with, hand warmers, and his relative, his comrade, was handing out hand warmers. And, at some point in the exchange in the front lines, militarized-looking cop stood up with a rifle in hand and smiled at him and hit him dead, point blank in the shoulder. Rubber bullet. In that second round, coming back in later after we had left, I was watching them shoot the tear gas canisters that, to my understanding, is supposed to be deployed up and over a crowd, and then it disperses like a mushroom cloud, kind of over the people to disperse. And I was watching them aim it into the crowd and deploy the canisters directly into crowd, which is the most dangerous thing. We've had many protectors and defenders of multiple causes be harmed, lose, body be almost left for dead. So that was very dangerous. It was very clear that they were out for blood, and they were getting it that day, and many of our relatives were injured.
What does the LRAD do to you?
This time, unlike last time, this time it just caused confusion. A lot of disorientation of not knowing who I was there with, or who I was looking for, where I quite was, or what was going on, or why I was even there. It was a very intense feeling of complete discombobulation for about a minute or two, and I just kept breathing and telling myself it's okay, and eventually realized where I was and why I was there and who I was looking for and all the things I was supposed to hold on to. But
wow.
This one, the body pain definitely came in the next day. A little bit less severe, but definitely still with the headaches and everything, and there's so much going on that kind of didn't know exactly what was causing what. You just knew that you felt pretty rough. It's kind of like getting hit by a semi and having the worst flu, and, after jogging a marathon and getting food poisoning. It's just, your whole body's just really, increasingly worse for some hours, and then it gets a little bit better.
One of the medics had written a statement about what they saw, and it was multiple people unconscious with head injuries. Like they were aiming at people's heads with the rubber bullets.
Yeah.
And from
I can't personally confirm, but I know the medics saw a lot, and they saw everything that night, and so I absolutely trust our medics to give, accurate observations, because they're the ones who are seeing all of it, way more so than even those of us on the front lines, because, it gets very tunnel vision of those of us transporting, because we're only doing one at a time.
Right.
And it doesn't surprise me. We knew this was coming.
And what I saw from the pictures is that a lot of the people that they aimed at were women. Almost like they targeted women. There were certainly lots of men that were injured severely. I saw head injuries that you could tell the person was in shock.
That night, I saw a lot of our relatives of color, of all colors. A female relative, African-American relative that came out, I believe, from Michigan, took a direct hit. Other women I know have taken direct hits. Our relative who took the canister to the arm took a direct hit. There was definitely an increase in the violence against women, which was very alarming, but at the same time is not necessarily surprising, given the fact that this is a pipeline that is churning through our ancient grandmother and putting a pipe in her belly. It is literally opening up, slicing open her skin to put something in that should not be there, only to leave again.
Yeah. So we have, after that trauma, we have the trauma of the eviction notice to deal with.
Well, that was after Thursday, which I'm not sure if a whole lot of people tune in on Thursday. Fortunately, it wasn't a violent day, but it was an empowering day. So we got to hit our objectives of going to Turtle Island and laying some prayers down. I saw a lot of relatives, the younger relatives, showing absolute courage and strength and spiritual conviction that it was right and good to go properly in a good way with the cedar and the shoes and with the blessings of the sage, and laying down tobacco for the ancestors that are buried there in that sacred island that are being absolutely what is the word I'm looking for?
Desecrated.
Vilified. They're desecrated, thank you. They're desecrated by the sheer number of cops, a kind of 56 cops on Thanksgiving Day, on that sacred mound, aiming rifles down at a peaceful, prayerful, spiritual gathering on the day that many are celebrating the excesses that come from stolen land and stolen labor. And we are there to pray for the ancestors on whose backs this was built, on whose backs and on whose lands and on whose resources and on whose enslavement and on whose raping and pillaging this holiday was founded. And it was good to see and hear the songs coming once again from that sacred place.
Yeah.
So then we get the eviction notice.
Yeah, after that powerful moment. And that also was a moment where Morton County sheriffs gave themselves away. They showed themselves to be the gaslighting scumbags that they are. And they showed they aired a video. They did a live video themselves from their point of view. And it's them looking down and saying, we respect your First Amendment rights, as they're not respecting them. You know, we do this, we do that.
At all.
And then
they respected them so much they put barbed wire where we were at on Turtle Island and razor wire up along the hill line. How is that respecting our right to peacefully assemble on traditional lands, on treaty lands, on sacred lands, as Indigenous people, as the First Nations? Many Lakota relatives, many of my family members were there laying down those prayers for those ancestors. How dare they? How dare they deny us that basic human right, our basic spiritual right?
Yeah, how's that for freedom of religion? Freedom of being human. Unbelievable. So that's when Anonymous hacked their Facebook page after that. Live video.
I did not know that, but that's a good tidbit. I like that tidbit. Thank you
it
for
was
that
pretty
one.
funny because they put up all this like stuff from NODAPL, about all the people they've injured on their page, and like their cover photo was like a Black Lives Matter. And then they had a wanted poster that was like, like the anonymous face mask thing. And it was pretty funny. And then they released a video that said, we're taking everything down that you have.
I think that in the midst of this horrific week that we've seen, it's good to laugh. Laughter is a good medicine.
Indeed.
And I'm glad that they were able to give us some of that beautiful laughing medicine.
Me too. It was good to see. So you have this eviction notice, and of course you're probably not planning on leaving, is what I'm assuming.
There was a press conference I heard about earlier today, and seems like, while everybody's still trying to take in the news, this is treaty land. This is indigenously occupied now, reoccupied, repatriated treaty land, and I'm fully confident that the tribes that are connected to these treaty lands are going to put some legal papers in, some injunction orders, because this is still treaty lands. On top of a fight against a black snake, we're also reaffirming our sovereignty as Indigenous people to use the lands that were promised, and to force this U.S. government to reveal itself once and for all as the duplicitous government that it is, that says one thing and does exactly the opposite, whether it's the Morton County saying that, we respect, or whether it's the eviction notice saying this is for your protection. For our protection, don't use LRADs. For our protection, do not deploy tear gas directly into protests protectors. For our protection, don't shoot water at us at sub-freezing temperatures.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and for the protection of the people, for access, take away the wall on 1806. And
Absolutely,
then,
open it up.
voila, there'll be access. Boom. Problem solved.
We are not the ones who are stopping the flow. We are the ones who are resisting being trapped by one road in an encampment that they're controlling our movement. That is not freedom.
Yeah.
And at any point in time, they can shut down the one road we have to access supplies, to access all the things that we need to in a town.
Yeah.
But on a brighter note, there is much in camp digging in, saying where we shall remain. Furthermore, people, many visitors have come in this week in particular, bringing good words, good hugs, good songs, and so many supplies, needed supplies. We on camp has been the very grateful recipient, if not one, but two lodges. We now have 2 teepees to have folks who are
That's
visiting us.
awesome.
We've also been given another partial lodge at workspace for art and traditional crafts. We've been donated stoves by so many amazing individuals, and by our campmates' hard work and the visitors' hard work, we are definitely digging in and preparing for winter, and are going to be ready for whatever comes, because it feels like from hour to hour we don't know what to expect.
Right.
Many seeds are being planted about this movement not collapsing after DAPL, but continuing to grow as a spiritual movement, as a revitalization of these powerful ways all across Turtle Island and other smaller spiritual camps. And I love this idea that these seeds are already taking root, and they are going to grow, and it's going to continue to grow. And I would ask anyone listening to start thinking about long-term sustainability of how even across the ocean we can begin the spiritual movement growing back into the lands, our traditional lands, our root knowledge lands, the lands that hold our birth, the lands that receive us when we go back, and growing and networking and solidarity, because it's not just DAPL that's threatening our waters. There are things that have been threatening our waters globally, threatening our sovereignties globally, threatening our cultures and our languages and our ways of being globally. And now is a beautiful time to continue to grow this network and to weave this blanket of interconnectivity that is going to sustain us.
Excellent. I couldn't have said it better myself. And how eloquent, given all you've been through this week, that just came out. Boom. And now you have, 2 lodges to bring with you wherever you may go to live freely next. And protect water or water walk. My first indication that our water really seriously needed protecting was the water walkers who were raising awareness. And I look back now, and there were things 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago that people were doing to try to stop pipelines. So this movement is not just a NODAPL movement. It goes far beyond that. Like you said, it's just this is the culmination of everything that's wrong with the United States government, and everything that's wrong with this paper sovereignty and not real sovereignty. And so it's beautiful to see the people coming together with their tribal leaders, their political tribal leaders even, to achieve something as amazing as what's already been achieved. Yeah. So
continuing, and I keep telling, yesterday, checking in with folks, this isn't the end. No matter what happens, this isn't the end. We are only just beginning.
Good. And you said that Oompa's not feeling well, so you did want to talk a little bit about the Black Hills being a good place for a next step. But
that is one of many seeds that is looking like it's going to flower.
Awesome.
Here in Lakota territory, and as an outside comrade of my Lakota brethren, I think it'd be powerful for them to once again reclaim living their traditional way in their traditional lands, in their very sacred lands, and being held once again by the heart of all that is.
Yeah, a little eco village going on, and with tall trees where they can't continue to their planes and helicopters.
Harassment.
Yeah.
The constant harassment. It is, to my understanding, against prisoner of war codes to not allow people to sleep for so many hours.
Yeah.
And that is what we're experiencing at camp by their constant intrusion in our airways.
I've talked to a lot of veterans this week because of the recent call for veterans to come and stand and protect. And every veteran that I talk to totally is with the people and are appalled that, they see the pictures and they're like, that is the exact equipment that we used in war in Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan, Syria, and Iraq. And people know that you are not rioting. They know what a riot looks like. And Martin County can't just say it's a riot and then it's just a riot because they said it's a riot. There's a little bit more to it than that. Before I called you, I was speculating about whether the chairman of the Standing Rock Sioux could directly request assistance from the president and declare his own state of emergency, because under emergency management law, he has as much power as the governor to declare a state of emergency. So, and the threat that the people are under right now is an emergency.
We've had very serious injuries. We've had bodily harm. We've had 2 cardiac arrests. We've had hundreds of cases of hypothermia. This is an aggressive act of harm, of bodily harm, of emotional harm, of spiritual harm. And, now would be a great time for intervention to happen. But it was so good to see how many people were coming to our defense, how many people came to our support to bring their bodies and their prayers and their, physical resources for this winter and for this battle. It is now a battle. I've been saying this for a while. Everybody doesn't want to call it a battle zone, but we are in an active war zone. When you don't know going out, you're going to just be able to lay down those prayers and, join in that Chanupa or sing those songs, and whether you're coming back with physical harm, with battle fatigue, and with trauma, just for going out to pray.
Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. So, has the population swelled in Osheti-Shikoin?
Very much so.
Yeah.
Since about Tuesday, the first waves of caravan after caravan after caravan, folks coming in from Seattle and Chicago and back east and California and, down south, New Mexico. Just in our camp alone, we've received, I believe, over 50 people.
Wow. Wow.
And I believe that, going from a camp of about 5 to 50 was a lot. And our camp, I think, is indicative of the larger camp. And so good to see all the relatives coming to gather and to just celebrate that we're still here, we're still existing, and we're still resisting this pipeline, and we're still defending these waters, and we're doing it in unity. It was very good to see. Yeah,
so a lot of people don't understand that the Osheti Shakowee
is
is a camp of smaller camps. It's a big, giant camp, but there's a bunch of other little smaller camps in it. So if each of those camps swelled in the amount that you did, there's got to be, a few thousand in just there alone in the big camp. Yeah, they're going to have a hard time releasing that many people. And I think they're going to have a hard time getting the people willing to do that. But you never know.
You don't know, and you never know what's coming, but we still remain peaceful, we still remain prayerful, we still remain optimistic and hopeful that our basic human rights will eventually be recognized, that our voices...
treaty rights will be recognized.
That the treaty rights will be recognized, and that, our opposition to a pipeline that will destroy livelihood and life all across Turtle Island will be heard.
Well, we're praying. We're all praying really hard.
And I believe that is what's keeping us protected and blessed up. And, as bad as it is, I always know that it wasn't that many generations ago that it was much worse. So
yes.
I'm grateful for those prayers. I'm grateful for the blessings. I'm grateful that still we haven't had any death other than our horse relative. Because it could definitely be worse by now, and we have seen in other cities and other resistance movements what it can look like. So I know that we are being very protected by so many ancestors and so many prayers being lifted up each and every day. So thank you to your listeners that take the time to send us those thoughts, those prayers, to light a candle, to offer some tobacco, whatever their practice is across the airwaves, that give us those blessings we need to stay upright and remain.
It means something. Prayer is very powerful. It really is. And it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter what you call yourself or how you identify. Prayer is very powerful. And so don't skip it just because you think it's not enough, because it's the foundation of this entire movement, is the prayer. That is, the foundation of this movement. It's a prayer movement, for sure. 100% prayer movement. We wouldn't be where it is today without the power of prayer and without the unifying power of prayer. So many camps in there, and not everybody agrees on tactics or even what is traditional or what's not traditional, but everybody agrees that they're going to fight together to kill this black snake.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so sometimes people who are on the outside might be able to might get a little mired down on the little political disagreements and things, Red Warrior being told to leave and things like that. But those issues are not really, they're sort of like little rabbit holes, not really the big issues.
They're tangential to get mired in, and right now we have to absolutely keep very narrow focus of what our objective is, and our objective is to return to a spiritual way of being that resists a very intense and direct threat to our way of life.
Absolutely. And
this black snake is just one indication of that. It is a symptom. I keep trying to remember that this black snake is a symptom of an illness that is bigger. And it is important to focus on this black snake, but it is also important to remain aware of the broader picture and the things we're fighting in that broader picture of colonization and capitalism at all costs, that we need to unify and we need to remain strong spiritually, because what we're fighting has no spirit and it wants to consume everything that it gets to.
Yes. Yeah, and it's like an infection too. And part of that infection affects how we think of ourselves and others. So prayer is a way to remind ourselves who we really are and what we're really capable of.
Absolutely.
So, both in the positive and the negative. So, and it's to keep us focused on what we're capable of doing without violence, because that is something that everybody agrees on as well in the camp, which is amazing. It's an amazing accomplishment of people when you think about it. I mean, natives are the most diverse group of people ever. And, that's why we have all of these little, different ways of doing things, different traditions, different languages, different songs, different everything. But yet there's this there's this common thread. And that is our love of our mother, our love of our children that we know depend on us so that they can continue and that they can have children and they can have children and they can have children. That it's up to us right now, always.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm shouting out for everybody there that's continuing to unify under such incredibly tough circumstances. I mean, it's easy to get really bitchy quickly. I mean, you haven't had a shower, you're hungry, it's freezing cold, your foot hurts, I mean, whatever.
Right.
But people do it, so I'm proud. I'm proud of everybody there. I really am.
We're learning how coming together and taking care of our own needs and taking care of each other really does go a lot further than this myth of, doing it all by yourself. It's a myth. Nobody does it all by themselves. It always takes a community. Small or large is better as community. And in unity as community.
And that whole myth that you're talking about is part of this, rugged individual American blah 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 that profit at all cost kind of thing. That the American dream of becoming wealthy. Well, what does that take? It actually takes life being destroyed and people being
resources and land being stolen. It is a narrative that it's false. It's a lie, because even if you're doing the work and you're not having a workhouse do the work, you have still taken land. Every inch of this is stolen indigenous land. So you've already gotten your capital from someone else to start off with. So how are you doing it by yourself? There was already a community of people, of indigenous people that you're taking from to start pulling yourself up by your bootstraps.
Yep. So, and that's the biggest, I think that's the biggest block maybe for people in understanding, it's important for some people to really think that they've done it by themselves. So not a lot of people willing to let go of that fantasy. And it's the fantasy that gets people like Trump elected. Because someday you can be Trump too. Woohoo!
It is a delusion, Never mind, most of us weren't born to, gazillionaire already and had every single privilege and access point and door open for us, thrown open for us along the way. But there's a model. There's America. You can fail multiple times, file bankruptcy multiple times, have multiple divorces, have multiple charges pushed against you. Multiple failures at many things, enterprises that you do. Your show is even canceled, but you can still be president. I mean, there's a narrative for you.
Yep.
But it continues. Colonization has continued before the election, after the election. I will say the same thing. Colonization is continuing exactly the way it was engineered to be. And this is only just one extreme caricature of these lies that are woven into the American dream.
And on the plus side, my Nazi ass-kicking days have just begun.
Exactly. There's only more work to keep doing. I didn't want to be this busy for the next 4 years, but here we go.
Yeah, I wanted to relax a little bit, but I'm going to have to kick ass instead.
Time is now.
Yep, it sure is. It sure is. Yeah, it's been one of those weeks. I've had some emotional outbursts. You know, it's been one of those.
You know,
like
there's extreme stress. As much as the unity and the spirit of camp, what goes on outside, whether you know it or not, is causing stress. The lack of sleep, the interrupted sleep, you know, the constant threat of raid, of violence. It does take its toll.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know how it's going to express, but it's there, and we're all feeling it, and, you know, we're all trying to find our way through into self-care as best we can. There are multiple reminders throughout the kitchens at camp of ways to self-care and symptoms of, you know, PTSD and other things and extreme stress, high levels of stress, just to remind us it's okay. It's okay to feel this way. It's okay to have permission to have these emotional outbursts or feel whatever we're feeling, or to be tired or be sick, because this is unheard of conditions for a peaceful, prayerful encampment.
Right, yeah, and it's a normal response. It's you know, I kind of balk at it being called post-traumatic stress disorder, because it's really just an injury that you have to work on and heal, and
it's
totally
a deeper
normal.
injury. It's a deeper wound.
Yeah.
You know, some surface cuts heal over quick, others go deep, and that healing process is long.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all that this is trying to say, is you got harmed pretty deeply, and this is your body's way of responding.
Right. So, you also brought somebody with you that we can talk to after the breaky poo?
We are still awaiting their arrival.
Oh, okay.
They were following us and caravanning, and they've yet to get here. So we are at the moment seeking your other three guests. Two or three guests. So,
okay.
Hi. It is Grassroots Radio, y'all.
Yep. Pirate Radio.
Never know what you're going to get.
Yeah. So if they don't show up, then I will open it up to questions if people want to call in, or, you know, that kind of thing. But if they do, that'd be cool too. Because I want to hear from people if they're able. I think it's a miracle that we've done any shows, considering. So we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, welcome back to the second hour of The Bridge with Kira. It is the 26th of November, and I'm here with Zephyr. You there, Zeph?
Hi, I'm still here.
Wonderful. And our other peeps got lost along the way, the caravan of peeps. So we're going to open it up. If people have questions, they can phone 347-688-2902 or Skype Freedom Screen, SCREEN, Freedom Screen. So there's that if people have questions. Other than that, we're going to be wrapping for the next hour and discussing the events at Standing Rock. The first hour, if you Sunday's brutal battering of water protectors, and then there was Thursday's events of the prayers for the ancestors, and then there was the eviction notice. So those are three pretty major things that happened this week, and as we've been discussing, there's no plans on leaving, and there are prayers that there will be some intervention and people will be safe. How's that sum it up for the last hour?
That's about it. You know, that's a slow week here to Chateshakoin apparently these days. Oh my goodness, only 3 major happenings? What?
Well, here's one thing that I've been seeing is this also, talk about a myth. The myth of people getting paid to be protesters. Yeah.
Wow. If that were true, then we're all being underpaid right now. Who is our union? We need new union representation.
Yeah, a union rep, right? And so I would respond to that by saying, yeah, there's about 4 people that are getting paid, and they work for Indigenous Environmental Network. And that's it. Everybody else is there out of the goodness of their heart and because they've been called to be there. So the other thing is that the different camps have different funding mechanisms going on, GoFundMe's, things like that. And so the bigger camp funding is for bigger things like bathrooms and trash and, those type of...
Water, winterization, etc.
Right. And the smaller camps have smaller, more individual needs, and that's why we have the Winter Fund page for the Wiyang camp and the Zinkala Luzon camp. And that's why other little camps have their pages as well. So if people didn't understand that, that's how that breaks down. What else? There's no people getting run out of camp for being white. That was another
oh dear
thing.
Another rumor, another myth.
Yeah,
what we observed on Thanksgiving, I will say this, on Thanksgiving, mad shout out to all the chefs, all the cooks, all the hands in the kitchens, and all the kitchens who decided to fast and not do food that day, and all the people that fasted. But for those who want to partake of a fall feast, all the kitchens came together to provide probably the most epic meal, which Zephyr has had, and we've had some ones for the memory books. And they came together, and they did ask initially at the beginning that always our indigenous elders be served first, and also that our indigenous relatives be allowed first setting to come and have space, face-to-face, to enjoy a meal after a day of action, after a day of prayer, after a day of fasting. So there was a call, a very respectful call for safe space, and to the credit of many of the non-native folks in solidarity, settlers in solidarity that were there, they respected that. They emptied and cleared out the dining hall. Many stepped forward to serve. It was done in a very good way from what I saw. But there has not been calls for people to leave. The call is for people who have drugs or alcohol in their system or on their person or in their vehicle to not come to Ochete Shakowin. That is the original call. That is still the rule. That is possibly where some of these stories are coming from. If folks are, observed to be intoxicated, they're not welcome at any of the camps. This is a prayer camp. This is a spiritual camp. The medicine that you're bringing into your body with those alcohol and drugs have historically, to this day, caused harm for our communities. So this is why that rule is set. And other traditions have other traditions, but we are here on Lakota lands. We are here on, treaty Lakota lands, so we need to really respect the acts that are being made of us by our Lakota relatives who are our hosts here. So I could see how the script could get a little twisted, but that is not the case. All folks who are coming in a prayerful, peaceful way, who are coming respectfully, who are coming to give instead of take, all of those folks, because people who abuse drugs and alcohol, they're taking. They're taking a substance, and they're taking from the community, and they're taking resources, but they're not really looking at what they're giving except for heartache and broken families and trauma and neglect and abuse and all the things that come with it. So that is the only ask I've ever heard of people leaving. If, you're coming to harm, if you're coming to be violent, if you're coming in a way that is other than the peaceful, prayerful way and against the rules that the consensual community rules, agreements upon which this camp is built. That's the only case I've ever heard of people being asked to leave.
Yeah, that makes sense. So things can get twisted around. And at least when I was there, I mean, if the non-natives or the white people got kicked out, the place would be a lot smaller than it is right now. Yeah,
true.
There's a lot of non-native allies who are fighting alongside this indigenous-led movement, for sure. A lot of people standing there in solidarity. So
I have to give some shout-outs. I promised some shout-outs. First and foremost to our resident warriors who are just being awesome mentors and leaders in their own right, Joe and Steph. I promised them a shout out, but also want to shout out to the Palestinian and Muslim relatives who came to stand with us, who went on the front lines, who stayed on the front lines, who have helped us as a camp grow to make sure everybody knew what to expect and how to prepare properly and how to be safe and engaged. Shout out to just all the folks who came in, especially this week after it's been a really rough month, who brought in the good energy and the blessings and the gifts and the donations and the hugs and the love. I cannot shout out enough to all the folks. This is really, truly now a global effort. And we've seen folks from all walks of life, from all four directions, come and gather in peaceful, prayerful ceremony and in unity. And it's such a beautiful sight to see.
Amazing. I am truly inspired by this. The Palestinians showing up, the Sami. I think the Sami people of Norway are probably part of the force that got the Norwegians to divest from the Dakota Access Pipeline, which is a good thing. You have all the way from the Maori, and I don't know if there was any Australian indigenous people that showed up, but I'm sure there have been. It truly is global. So, good stuff.
Beautiful sight to see what we remember our connections and our interrelations instead of focusing on the divisions.
Right. Yeah, and then maybe that's how it's done, and I think also that those rules of nonviolence, the rules of keeping alcohol and other harmful drugs out of the camp, is important, and it's what's keeping people together. Because if we had those issues, and it's not like we're not dealing with those issues still, even though alcohol and drugs are not allowed in the camp, we're still dealing with those issues as a community. We still have people who are dealing with addiction, because addiction is the human response to trauma. So it's not like if you go there and then you get sort of locked in a loop where let me just go to the bar at the casino, and then it kind of gets out of control, and then you have to leave. And it's not like those people are, rejected or anything. It's just get yourself to where you're safe again, to be around, and to where you're safe again for yourself, and then come back and fight. Because you can't do this work if you're not all the way there. If you're not present.
Every moment could be a life or death situation. We need folks that are present and clear-minded, and not being clouded spiritually either.
Right.
It's hard in these moments to know what to do, and when things are going off, the last things that we need is for members in our community to be unsafe to themselves, which then makes the community around them unsafe if they're trying to, maybe hold somebody who might be intoxicated and want to just go and get hyphy at a front line and, get people harmed there, or, charge a hill when maybe it's not the time to do that action, or, all these things that can happen. So I do agree with it, and I think, also on the arc of our decolonization, we really do need to reach for traditional ways of healing and controlling, mitigating the effects of trauma, as opposed to reaching for the poisons that were given us as short-term Band-Aids for the constant trauma inflicted.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And it's working there. And not like searching people's car and things like that. So when I drove in, you have your window down, returning to camp or whatever, and then the guy says, well, you smell fine to me. So they're just like giving a little sniff, It's not like they're the cops that are searching your cars. They're just like, as unintrusively as possible, keeping the camp safe. And
we're also relying on people's own personal integrity.
Right.
If you're in not a good way, maybe you need to make the decision not be at camp. And if you are in a good way, making the decisions to remain that way during one stay at Ochete Shakawee is important.
Yeah. So would you advocate for people coming to help be there when they try to evict? Would you say?
I'm going to say my intuition is it's particularly to be noted that the eviction date is the same date that many of us have court up in Bismarck, up in Berkeley County, for the actions on the 27th. Many of us are facing a felony preliminary hearing on that day. So I'm concerned about a camp being on the low side of our protectors there, because we're all being tied up in courts on a day when this eviction is supposed to happen. As I read it, it seems like it could be potential that they would come and push us out as early as 12:01 on December 6th. I think the more people we have, the more protection we have. Once again, if we, stand one and twos, they'll pick us off individually, but if we stand together and hold that critical mass of peaceful resistance to these absolute desecrations of our treaty rights, that we will be able to stand firm and hold together. And all this talk, in the eviction notice, I remember the one thing that stuck out, was for the protection of, winter, for our protection, for rough winter. Yeah. It's like, well, if you're not weaponizing the water that we're trying to protect, that would be great. And B, there are elders within our camp who in their lifetime were out on these lands with young children and no man and made it perfectly fine. Yep. If they can do it as a very small family, I absolutely believe that we as a camp can hold each other up and see each other through. We're expecting rough weather coming in this week, and we're preparing, but all our camps are preparing, and we know that we can sustain this and anything else that comes in winter. Yeah. The spirit is strong. The supplies are coming in. We have amazing angels who are watching over us and donating all their needs. Our camp now is fairly geared up. Our last two items that we personally would love to have just to be prepared for anything is a solar generator and some panels. Just for in case we go through all the emergency candles in one blizzard and might need some power. Right. For lanterns and whatnot. But, we feel fairly confident. I am confident in my Lakota relatives' ancestral wisdom's guiding them. Blood knowledge is coming out, and also they're just practical on-the-land experience here in these lands during these seasons. Yeah. Yeah, you all can definitely make it through. There was a lot of knowledge, a lot of people being very frank about what needed to be done to make it through the cold nights, like the fire being watched and never going out, that kind of thing that people are aware needs to happen. So it's not just, a bunch of sort of weekend people from college just messing around. There's people who know how to live off the land and know how to make it through a harsh winter in a teepee or a yurt or something like that. So, yeah. So as long as you're not spraying a water cannon on them, people should be able to be okay. Tear canisters into the crowd, all that stuff. I have confidence. So it's extra level of stress. Nature we can work with, the land we can work with. The militarized violence is difficult to work with.
It really is. And it's difficult. It's difficult to see. I've had a hard time sort of adjusting to my normal everyday life. It's been hard to see. And
I would also like to give a reminder to your listeners who might be hearing these stories or watching kind of nonstop that they also are receiving trauma. Empathy, we are empathetic beings, and seeing relatives hard does take a toll, and just to remind them to also be gentle with themselves and to self-care and to step back and have a cup of tea or have a cry or talk to a friend or go to some kind of, start support groups for each other. If you are long distance caring for our camps, a lot of organizers are doing amazing work far and wide away from here, and are also immersed in this. You know, we need you strong and whole as well. And, you know, for anyone just laying down a blessing or a prayer, you know, this is also traumatizing to witness and to feel so helpless, so far away. So, you know, take those time, do those self-care needs. There's amazing resources all over the internet for self-care in times of trauma. And to allow yourself, you know, to also say that, you know, this is hard. This is really, really rough on the human spirit, and that's okay. It should not be like this. It should never be like this.
Yeah. And the other thing that we haven't mentioned yet are the support events that happened, the bank closings, the lockdowns in banks that happened all over the country this week. So there's that kind of support that's really coming strong. Baltimore had a bank lockdown. There was a few other cities that had bank lockdowns.
There did a bank lockdown and a street lockdown. I know we were in a lodge full of relatives who came to visit from Olympia. A lot of my family showed up this week, and many of us lived in or are from Olympia. And to hear that the relatives shut down the train and locked down the train so it couldn't bring the parts for the drill, that was a powerful moment. Yeah, that brought a tear 20 to my eyes. That our relatives are really working together and in tandem, and we really are doing all that we can every which way, and to continue. I cannot say it enough. Divest. There's a website, Divest, the Pipeline, I believe it is, .com, or defundthepipeline.com. One of those. I'm sure a quick search, your listeners could find it. DefundApple.com might even be it. And it gives great solid steps how you, wherever you are, can be a black snake killer and help us in taking down this threat. And defundapple.org, there we go, is the official
okay, great.
hashtag and website. Bank exit, hashtag bank exit. And you know, something that, you know, can take upwards of an hour maybe out of your day, but is definitely one tool that we have collectively, and we have to use all the tools we have collectively. And be smart and really think about where this money is coming from and where our money is and what our money is doing. You know, in between paying rent and buying groceries, our money is being invested in all sorts of ways. And find a credit union that, you know, shares your values of maybe not funding human rights violations or environmental degradation. And just continuing to put tell these banks why you're leaving. Let them hear, especially if they have anywhere in their bylines any kind of mission statements regarding environmental or cultural or, you know, human rights things, to really bring that to the forefront of this is why I no longer am going to do business here. Because you're not following your own bylaws, you're not following your own mission statement.
Yep. Yeah, that's important too. And I know a few friends have gone to their bank and they've been like, well, no, that's just a myth. We're not really invested in it. And then they take them to multiple sites that show that they really are. And even the people in the bank are surprised. They're like, I didn't even realize this. This can't be. You know, we were told that we really weren't. But so there's a lot of funny business. It's
a great way to start those conversations and to continue the teach-ins that need to happen, even person by person, one being teller at a time or one branch at a time. Let everybody know, because this also needs to spread with the folks who are in those industries as well, to demand of their jobs, of their bosses, of their, you know, banks, that they either adhere to what they say or that they maybe start thinking about ways to switch over. But meanwhile, those of us who have just, you know, very layman's access point, this is one way we can start using collective power.
Yeah. So you heard it here. Get your money out of those banks.
Hashtag bank exit.
Bank exit now. Yeah. And there's the other issue that's come up where they're trying to turn this into a crime. to turn First Amendment into a crime. So by saying it's economic terrorism. Well, that's interesting because the Standing Rock Sioux tribe has been terrorized economically by Morton County Sheriff's Department, and the people have been terrorized economically, been kicked out of restaurants, been told to leave stores, so. And then not to mention the environmental devastation, which is definitely a form of terrorism as far as I'm concerned.
Right. Absolutely.
So
it's ironic because capitalism, to my understanding, goes by the desires of the market. And so when it works for them and their pull is causing harm, physical, spiritual, cultural genocide on our people, that's not considered economic terrorism. But when we start speaking back and using the tools they say are our tools in the system, then suddenly we're the terrorists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There again is gaslighting, mass gaslighting.
Yep.
You have rights. Only if you use them, we will arrest you.
Right. Sure, you have rights, so long as you use them the way we want you to.
Which is not to use them.
Which is absolutely not to use them ever. Don't even really think about them. Just once again, it's a thing you're using. It's a little thing you have in your back pocket you don't ever take out.
Mm-hmm.
No, we're not there. And
well, you remember the old tagline for the Al Qaeda, and I think it was "They hate us for our freedom."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I was going to say that about the water protectors. They hate us because of our freedom. Like, under this assault, we're still free. We're still laughing. We're still, living. And they do. They do hate us for our freedom. They do. That's why they spy on us. That's why they, employ their anti-insurgent techniques, because these are people who can't be brainwashed into the narrative of the psychopaths in charge, basically. So what's so different about them? Have you seen any more evidence of police leaving the ranks, saying this? I'm not participating in this anymore. This is wrong.
Not only on Facebook, but never in person have I seen that. And I think it would be powerful if there was a line drawn in the sand where they stepped away from the line and turned around against their own brethren in protest of the treatment. And, I will say this about the bridge, and it was saddened me to see this, but, how everybody talks about FTP and cops are bad and blah, 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 but, nobody talks about firefighters. Everybody loves the firefighters.
Mm-hmm.
Those were firefighters blasting those water cannons at us.
Right.
Those were firefighters that were complicit with the actions of Morton County and state, agencies that were there on Sunday night.
Yes.
And, it's hard. It's hard to see people that you think are always the good guys and always help also weaponizing something that we're trying to protect and using it against us.
So I wonder.
So what I've seen is more people be complicit, not people stepping away.
Yeah. So what if there really was a fire? I mean, the lie that they told was that they were putting fires out, and then the truth that the film footage shows is that they were aiming the water at people. And those people weren't on fire. Oddly enough, they were not on fire at all. And later on,
one of our palace.
Go ahead.
You first. I'll defer to your wisdom.
Later on, people from the reports that I saw, later on there were fires that were lit in order to help warm people who had frozen hair and frozen body parts, things like that. But there was no initial fires up there near the front line.
No. It was an act of safety. It was for an act of safety.
Right.
One of our campmates, one of the Palestinian relatives who's come into camp for a time, was one of the people who got a direct hit on the front line. And she was targeted as she was also handing out hand warmers, and we had hoped to bring her onto the show so she could tell her story directly. But I feel it, once again, really important that, someone who knows what active war zones are stepped into this one to stand in solidarity with the relatives on the front lines, taking it for everyone and getting absolutely soaked in freezing weather, and was so determined to get these hand warmers open and passed on, didn't even see they were being sighted, and took multiple direct blasts to the point where her hair was frozen by the time she made it back the 2 miles from the Backwater Creek Bridge back to camp.
Oh, that's horrible. I can't think of how somebody could be so, without conscience to be able to do that, knowing the effect that's going to have on that person. Just blows my mind. I can't wrap my brain around it. I really, really can't.
It's easy when they don't see Indigenous people and people of color as human.
Right.
It's very easy for them to objectify us with all the narratives of, that we're dead and gone, or we should be, or that we're not fully human because manifest destiny. And all these things are still really alive in the subconscious of many Americans and many folks around the world. Unfortunately, manifest destiny has been used as, a form of Orientalism and shadism around the world. And we're seeing the effects of what that builds when, and what is flowered from that seed.
Right. Right. It's the dehumanization, like we talked about before, and they saw in the beginning how the people really tried to continue to humanize the police in the face of the dehumanization that the police were wielding toward them. So they made it harder. They made it quite a bit harder for that process to continue. I mean, it's hard to shake someone's hand when they're, spraying tear gas in your face.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. So
and yet we were still laying down prayers for them too. And as these actions have gotten more and more violent, I can say personally that I've still tried to remain calm and peaceful and to keep the people on the other side in my prayers as well. Because even though they're not getting physically harmed, they are getting spiritually and emotionally harmed, whether they want to admit it or not. And it's a harm that's going to affect their communities and their families and themselves as well.
It is. It's going to come down hard. I don't know if it's what you call karma, but it's something akin to that. There will be some, for those who still have a conscience and aren't, completely psychopathic, there will be guilt, and it'll come back, and it'll come in the form of PTSD. They will see their victims in their dreams every night. They'll see that person they sprayed in the face. They'll see those images that they see in the media as well, because they watch the Unicorn Riot videos, they watch the live streams, they watch them. So, yeah, it's that mirror. So
all these actions have a soul toll, even if there is a spirit that is lacking and weakened inside that being. And I feel for these folks who are so without heart and spirit that they can do this and smile as they shoot our relative or aim for a very small female presenting person trying to help. This is shocking to me. But they're getting a soul deficit. If it's very little, it's still going to take, and they're going to go on the negative, and that cannot be good for any human being to walk around with that much guilt and debt.
I'm going to try. I just got a message, and is the Palestinian lady's name Lura?
Mom, no, but there's another one.
Okay. She's with T, and I think with Oompa as well. Let me see if we can add them to the call. Call a phone, and let's see. Okay. 262. Okay. Let's see. Add into the group call. Let's see if this works. Laura.
Laura is
Hello?
At the tone, please record your message. When you've finished recording, you may hang up
goodness.
or press...
frontline realness.
I'm telling you. Okay, so Laura is French?
Laura is a member of Zincala Luzon camp, or at least a really good comrade and friend of our camp, who often is there checking in. They are, I believe, a settler in Solidarity. They've been there multiple times. Shochete, Shakoli.
Okay.
Pretty awesome stuff.
Nope.
At the tone, please...
Not working. Okay.
Still in transit.
Yeah, it's not for lack of trying. Okay. Oh, she said call again. Okay. Maybe they are also at the casino because you can't be inside and get a call.
Hey, Kira.
Hey, is this T?
Hey, do you have T's number?
I don't.
Okay, I'm gonna give it to you real quick because I have 3% left.
Oh, okay.
Hey,
Bum,
T.
bum, bum.
It's Kira. What's your phone number?
3%.
He's about to get real popular.
I know. Boom, boom. And is that the one that sings with T? Oh, I lost her.
Yes, that's Laura and T. They are combined.
Yes, they've.
Too bad we didn't tell them walk out to the parking lot. I told everybody I'd be in their usual spot. One space we get service out here.
Okay, I'm messaging her. There we go. I said walk to the parking
Frontline
lot
realness, y'all.
and find Zephyr because we got 20 minutes. I've been remiss in my duties to get to the post office and still have not sent your boots or T's jacket, but I will do that this week.
You know, there's been a lot going on this week, inside and outside of camp life, and perfectly okay. We miss you. Let me just say that our camp misses you so much.
I miss camp. I miss it. It's weird. It's like I put my big coat on and I'm like, it still smells like camp. Oh.
That's not going away. That's not going away for a while.
Nope, it smells like a big fire. It does indeed.
Pretty sure a year after this is the Black Snake's gone and done. Pretty sure we're all gonna still smell like Ochete Shakoween realness with the smoke and the sage.
Yep, it does for sure. And it's a beautiful story. It really is. I guess there was a reason that it was somewhat uneventful. When I was there.
There seems to be calms before the storm, and just when you think things might get a little more normal, if there is a normal, and winterization's happening and your camp is getting ready and your camp's almost set up and life's going good, and then something happens, and then an action happens, and then a response happens, and everything goes tumultuous again and very violent, and then it slows down. And I was expecting Thursday to be a lot worse than it was, but even Morton County knew that day, that particular Thursday, would be a bad day.
Yep, they knew. So I'm calling T's number now. We'll see if we can get her in on this. Oh my goodness, poor T. Let's see what happens. She's probably like standing, 7 feet.
Pretty much.
Turn around and hey!
Hi, you reached T.
Okay. Oh boy. Well, you know what? It's really not for lack of trying here on the bridge with Kira. Oh boy.
One of the hardest working hosts in radio.
I dial like there's no tomorrow. We're going to try one more time. Otherwise, we really only have 20 minutes left, believe it or not.
Wow.
But I know. There's always so much
Time flies.
and so much is going on. But if there's people out there that want to come and stand with the people, now's the time to do it. Now is the time. Keep that camp swelled.
Hi, you reached T. Leave your message.
To maximum capacity, right?
We need all the defenders we can get, especially on that day. I'm nervous about having no defenders in camp.
Yeah.
To protect the elders and the young ones. And
are you one of the
just,
people that's going to court that?
I will be one of the people going to court that day.
Yeah,
that is many of our first day.
I expect for them to drop the felonies like they have been doing. Let's hope. Let's pray.
Let's hope. Yeah, absolutely. Pray about it. That's one of the hashtags, John Camp. Pray about it. That's definitely something that we could all use some little extra blessing, a little extra prayer for.
That's for sure. Yeah. The felonies that they're charging me with are like conspiracy to endanger by fire. That was one of them, right?
Yeah.
A fire that was there when you got there, and that you probably weren't even close to at any time.
Nowhere near.
Yeah, that's ridiculous. And it's their typical tactic is just lay on the felonies, target anyone you can, arrest as many people.
And weed it out in the end.
Yeah. But it seems to have had kind of the opposite effect. So I've seen people who were initially like, oh gosh, I'm going to go away for a little bit, but then they can't stay away. They're like, nope, they just dropped my felonies, so I'm back. I'm ready for action. I'm ready to go. It's having the opposite.
The more they arrest us, the more people are willing to go on the front lines and be arrested. The more they harm us and try to kill us, the more people are coming in by the hundreds and saying we're putting our bodies in harm's way to protect and defend these waters. So they can harm 1, 2, 20, 30, 100, 200 of us, but they're making just that many more, if not exponentially more.
Right. And I dare them. I mean, I really, really dare them to water cannon those veterans in their finest, their dress blues and what have you. Water cannon these guys. Pull out all the stops for them too. And let America's heads explode. Because they're not dehumanized, right? Our veterans aren't dehumanized like the water protectors are. They're still respected. So that may be what it takes to click in people's head just how wrong it is what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Those who are the, patriotic types who get into the whole veteran thing. I don't know how else to put it, the whole veteran thing. Whatever. Well, veterans are highly respected in Native culture, that's for sure. And as most people know, the veterans disproportionately are in the armed services more than any other group of people. So it won't only be just vets. It'll be vets and Native vets and all kinds of vets. Male vets, female vets. I mean, I know a few women veterans who are like, this would be the one thing I would get my, uniform out for. Get it out of the mothballs for. Because otherwise I never wanted to see that thing ever again. But this, I would get it out for. So.
Well, it's time. That was a great time. There's a brilliant reason.
Anybody who's like, I want to go, but I don't know anybody, I don't know how to get hooked in, message me. Message me on Facebook, tweet me, Instagram me. I'll get you hooked in. Because you're needed. If you feel the calling, you're needed. And if all you can do is pray, you're needed. And if you want to send supplies, thank you to those who have. Thank you for the messages you're sending on the Winter Fund page. That reminds me, there's a package that should be coming Monday, and it's like super, super full. So he said not to like cut too deep into it when you're opening the lid, because you might cut into like some of the contents, because it's super full.
Be gentle, check. Okay, thank you, blessing.
Super full to the max.
True story. We've just been going so much this week, and welcoming so many visitors and taking in so much donations and figuring out camps that I have for the first week since I've been out here, not been able to get on the page just to see any of the messages or any of sources of support that are going out there. I almost feel remiss in my duties.
Yes, and we do have on the page now that people can send checks and money orders to Elise Nordland, and that can go to the P.O. box. So we have that in that pinned post with the things that you guys wanted. Are you good on sleeping bags now? I think we are
now good on sleeping bags. We are now good on everything but 3 pairs of Carhartts for our large guys.
Okay.
And 1 very small pair for our young cousin.
Okay. So I know that there's a waterproof jacket that's either on the way or has already arrived. I think it's an extra large.
It has arrived.
Okay.
It has arrived, and it actually was a large, and it fit our fierce and fabulous staff. So Steph is going to be representing in style now.
Oh, awesome. Awesome. Yeah, and also on my blog where I had 3 people that I interviewed in camp under the title Paradigm Shifters, Badass Lakota on the Front Lines for Water Justice. Under that one, you can also send support to Zinkal Luzon for Steph and Joe. Just in the memo line, just put Steph and Joe, so they know. And what else? I put some information on how to support Candace Ducheneau in there. And if anybody knows how to get support to Lewis Grassrope, I will add that to the blog as well.
We'll do some research, and we'll see if we can get an answer.
Okay, cool. Great. And then what else is going on? Yeah, we're just, we've got, I guess, a week until the 5th. Today's the 26th, 27, 28, 29, 30. Is there 31 days in this month or 30?
There's 30. The 5th is on a Monday, I believe.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 9 days or so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, we'll have another show between now and then. I think on the 3rd. So we'll have another. We'll get to see what happens between now and then on the 3rd, and hopefully more people can make it. Although it's totally a pleasure to talk to you as always. And I mean, I could have stayed up all night, talked to you at camp, because I really was just
I think we almost did a couple of times.
I was laying there awake listening to the planes.
Good times.
I don't sleep, that easily, but
there's plenty of other insomniacs due to planeage that are chatty chuckling. You are never going to be lonely. Not being able to sleep out there.
Any progress on the bathrooms, or are you still walking half a mile to the bathroom?
We're still walking half a mile. We have some amazing relatives from Chicago who are talking about donating some supplies and everything else so that we can frame out just a little shed and put like a medical commode in to a dry bathroom, at least for the weon of camps who aren't quite so blessed with mechanisms to make outdoor relevation of issue. But we're gonna get a little hooked up and make it a little easier. It'd be nice if we could actually get some facilities moved. The camp has grown. The porta potty situation got a little bit tense this week.
Oh,
as so many people have flooded because after the initial kind of lowering of numbers, of consistent numbers, a lot of the porta potties were taken out. The camp was split between last day in camp and this camp, and then the south camp. The porta potties were kind of moved around, and a lot of them never returned. So the places that used to have like 4 or 5 went down to 1 or 2. A lot of them disappeared altogether. So that's still getting a little difficult. There's long lines. There's a lot of folks who don't ask if the elders need to go first, and, you know, stuff like that. But we're going to figure it out for our camp, make sure everybody is safe and doesn't have to get hypothermia in cold weather going and trekking forever to the nearest restroom.
Yeah, that was one difficult thing for me anyway. Just as you started to get a little bit warm, it's like, oh, oh man, how much longer can I lay here?
Pretty much. You're trying to figure out which need is the most pressing.
It's terrible to laugh at, but totally true. It's real.
There's a couple options. You can laugh about it or cry about it. I'd rather laugh or pray about it. You know, one of the two. One of the two out of the three.
two or three out of the one. I don't know. But, so that there, I thought there was going to be some surprise guests, but surprise, there were.
Surprise, but you know,
Zephyr.
surprise. They'll be probably next week, you know. And thank you for just having me. Thank you for opening up the space for these stories from which they shall going to be shared. Thank you to all listeners. Continued gratitude, just all the support. It's overwhelming. We could not continue without it. I was blessed to have a lot of my family from Oakland and Olympia show up and get that love, and you know that there are a lot of relatives. I know there's so many relatives that are also sending that much love and support, and goodie bags and boxes and notes and all of it. So thank you. Continued gratitude.
Are there still children in camp?
There are. The school is growing. The school is getting a traditional wigwam, and it has, I believe, yurts on the way. There are a few children. They are very explicitly told to keep, protectors are told to keep children off of the front lines now because we can't guarantee safety. Also, once upon a time, many of our four-legged relatives were welcome to the ceremonies, and now because of everything going on, we're also requesting that folks keep their four-legged companions safe as well.
I see. Okay.
Just for safety's sake.
Yeah.
We love them. They lay down good prayers too, but it's a little harder to keep little ones underfoot safe while we're you know, never knowing what's going to be thrown at us.
Yeah, and there were quite a few four-legged friends in camp. The horses, dogs, mostly. I didn't see any cats, but
there are a few. There's a few running around, very, very, very happily free.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. So that's good. And then I had also heard that perhaps, depending on what happens this week, that they may move all of the children onto the reservation if an eviction seems like it's going to really go down.
I mean, I keep hearing that. I keep hearing that they're going down. I thought they did go down, and then I saw the new school pop up. So when it happens, we'll let you know. Until then, you know, it's anybody's guess. On the Thanksgiving, or on the Thanksgiving Day action, there was a call that women and children go to the south side of the river, back onto reservation land for safety. And I believe it was just a safety measure, not knowing what could come at us based on Sunday night.
Okay.
But nothing happened. To my knowledge, I was out there for about 4 hours and did a lot of praying, did a lot of blessing, did some singing. And noticed that the cops were staying out as we were leaving to do your show. In fact, there was another group gathering out at Turtle Island, and there were cops that were descending the hill and actually on the island itself. So I'm going to be eager to get back and see what's going on out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe that's where everybody is who was right behind you. They probably they were needed.
Got diverted. Diverted. So it's likely. It's always wonderful to talk to you. It's always wonderful to speak with your listeners. And just thank you, everyone. Thank you for continuing to tune in. Thank you for continuing to support. Lila Wopila, as they say out here.
Lila
much,
Wopila.
much thanks.
Or Wopila Tonka is another thing that they say. I don't know what's up on next. I think on this channel it's Ivy.
Hey, Kira, do you have 2 seconds? Guess who just pulled up?
Who?
The entire gang. Would you like to speak to someone?
Yes, we have 2
Anyone?
minutes.
All right, 2 minutes. All right. Wonderful talking to you, Hugo.
Love you, hon. Maybe.
Hey, Kira.
Hey, how are you doing? Welcome to the bridge for a couple
Much
minutes
apologies to you and your show and all your listeners. Big news from yesterday. Plans are underway to address it in many forms. I'd encourage everyone to just stay in touch with social media, but reliable social media.
Mm-hmm.
The camp is stronger than ever, more determined than ever, and we'll see what happens in the coming days. I'd like to put you on with Teresa Martin, if I could.
Okay.
Hi, Kira.
Hi, Teresa. It's good to hear your voice.
Likewise.
I'll be mailing your jacket back to you. You left it in my car.
Ah, thank you. Yeah, thank you so much.
No problem. So the camp is big now, huh?
So the camp is big now. Yeah, there's so many people that came in for the holiday. Actually, was away for the holiday and got back last night. But yeah, there's tons of people.
Excellent. And what is a nice Catholic girl like you doing there?
What's a nice Catholic girl like me doing there? Yeah, I think it's so important for. Well, I mean, I think, yeah, as a person who does identify as Catholic, I think that we need to be standing with Indigenous people. I'm a white ally, but we need to be standing with Indigenous people in solidarity and helping to stop the pipeline. And also standing up for Indigenous land sovereignty. Yeah, I think we
ran out of time.
Okay.
Next week, come back.
Okay, sounds
All
good.
right. Love you guys.
Okay, love you. Bye.
Bye.